Back in the car today, and hopefully the cable's not in view because my battery is pretty low, so I'm charging the GoPro as I'm filming. Hey. That guy waves at everybody. Everybody. He just sits there all day and waves at everybody. So today I wanted to talk about how I got into the car scene. Hopefully the sound's not like super bunked now. So I wanted to talk about how I got into the car scene, how I came about the Stratus, and all that good stuff. So first off, I've kind of always been into cars. Like me and my brother always played with like Hot Wheels and building Legos, and like it didn't matter if we had like a Super Nintendo or a 64. We had tons of racing games. So I've always been into cars. It was just getting one at some point of my own. So basically the way I got the Stratus was, it was my technically third car, but the second one I owned. My first car was a 92 Dodge Dynasty, and at the time I just skateboarded and like BMX'd. I sucked, but I still did it. And you know, it was a nice sedan. It had bench seats front and back, so you could hold like 7 people in it and carry a lot of stuff. And I had a couple friends that were into audio stuff, like putting subs in that. So that was the first thing I did, is I got a CD player and like Kicker 12s and an amp, all from like Best Buy. I went to Best Buy with like my second or third paycheck and had them install like subs in that thing. And then my mom came across some like super cheap neons, and I put them under the dash, like blue ones, which was kind of weird for that style car. But you know, knowing what I do now, like I kind of miss that car. You know, your first like car beater. And so that was like where I started like working on stuff on my own, because I started fixing like dents and dings on that car and stuff like that. And my second car was a Saturn, which lasted about 3 hours. And basically I went and bought it off my aunt, who couldn't drive anymore, or great aunt, however you want to look at it. And going back to my mom's house where I lived at the time, I hydroplaned into the back of my mom's van, and it was totaled. So it was back to the Dynasty, which I still had. And then a couple months went by, and a friend of the family was kind of like, hey, there's a police auction, we got some cars and a couple trucks. They're like, the mileage is high, but they always do nice upkeep on them, and they're cheap. So I went there, and there was a couple like Crown Vics, and I was looking at them. And then there was a truck, which I kind of liked, but it was only a single cab, it had no bed. And at the time, like me not knowing too much, I was like, I don't even know where to get a bed for this truck. So, and then the very back was the Stratus, which it was like the undercover police, chief police used it. So I picked it up for like $6,500 with like almost 50,000 miles, I think. And that was about 10, 11 years ago. So that's where I got it. So like I said, once I got the Stratus, it was technically my third car. And at the time when I got it, I still didn't know too much, and I kind of just started using the forums back then, because, you know, there wasn't, you know, tons of, you know, there wasn't really social media 10 years ago that popular, you know. So everyone used the forums. So I already kind of had an idea, like, that I wanted to do the whole body kit and go to shows and do crazy audio and stuff. So I moved over my sound system from the Dynasty and that kind of got totaled. So went, eventually upgraded the sound system, went and bought a body kit, put it on the car. It finally got painted. I got into some lady pulled out and hit the front end of my car. So at the same time, I had the damage fixed, a new body kit bumper, and then everything else painted. And after a little while, I bought a wing. And right at that time, I just finished working at one place, started working somewhere else, and one of the kids, because MySpace was pretty popular at the time, I worked with, he saw my pictures of what I was doing in the car, and he's like, oh, you need to come out and hang out with my friends. So I met him at work, at the place I used to work, after work one day, and, we're just kind of hanging out, and he told me he had some friends, so we met up at one of the normal places to meet, and that was the first time I actually really got into the local car culture. And so then I met some really good friends, and basically started hanging out with them, modifying the car more, going to shows, going to the big shows like down in Carlisle, and yeah, so it was a lot of fun. But those are my racer years. Put stickers all over the window, do dumb shit I think at one point I had a nitrous gauge in the engine bay, so when you pop the hood, it was right there and you could see it. For whatever reason, I thought that was a good idea. I had a TV on the dash and a PlayStation 2 in the back seat, and really, really cheesy mods, because I didn't know any of the mechanical performance stuff. Even though I'm mechanically inclined, I never I was afraid of doing it with my car, because it was my only car. So did a lot of shows and stuff. I think I got a second and third place over the years. And basically, that's what I was doing. I didn't really get into more performance stuff until one of my good friends that I met through the car scene, one of my great friends, he went to Wyotech here in Pennsylvania, and his instructor had an engine that would fit my car. For you people that do not know this, the 3-liter fits in with the 2.5. You can just swap it, get more power. Out of the Eclipse GT, GTS, and the Stratus RT. The 3-liter single overhead cam fits right in where the 2.5 did. So I did that. He went and bought it, and it sat for more years. But over that time, it was my daily. It was hard to have it down. So I went through a couple beater cars, and eventually, my one friend also decided to go there a couple years later to Wyotech, and he was like, oh, they're doing autocross up here. It was a lot of fun. And then we looked up, and the racetrack near us was having a practice day. So 3 of us went out with no idea what autocross was. Personally, he was like, oh, it's time attack, and I was like, okay. So we went out and had a blast, went the course, and from that point on, I was like, okay. I kind of did the strut bars and stuff because they were cheap, easy mods already. But at that point, I was like, okay, I'll buy a sway bar and put the sway bar in, and then I really got cracking on trying to find a decent car, so I could do the engine swap, which I went through Horizon, and then I bought my Neon, and then when I had my Neon is when I did my engine swap. So did the engine swap at my other good friend's garage, and did all the wiring. A lot of people helped, and so then I had the power. Then we did the rear disc swap, and then I bought springs, and I kept getting into it more and more into autocross. And when me and my one friend decided to do the springs, we were like, we don't need a sound system anymore. So we gutted it and just put a normal carpet in the trunk. We gutted out all the speakers. And then since I started moving on, then I had a normal daily driver, because I didn't want to drive now. My old daily driver is now a project car. I didn't want to drive it everywhere, and have risk of breaking things, or, so I could have time down, and I had a nice daily. So then more things came out of the car, and once I moved into my own place, pulled out the rear interior, switched to coilovers, and really got into like autocross, buying the right tires, getting the car set up right. And I'm still on that path. I still have plans for the car. I'm not really too active in like the car community anymore, unfortunately, but that's just kind of how it is. That'll be another video. But yeah, you get older. I've had the car for 10 years. I'm 30 now, and I really like the car. I gotta get gas here real quick. And once I finish pumping here, we'll talk about the future plans. But yeah, so oh, stupid truck. I never put gas in the Caliber. I never drive it, unfortunately. Oh, that sun's brutal. So that's basically how the car got to where it was, and I've learned a lot. If I knew what I knew now, I could go back, there'd be a lot of things I would not do. I would have never done any like the audio in-car entertainment crap at all. And yeah, I would have never done. I would have just kind of went straight for performance right away if I knew, everything I know now. But yeah, I mean, the car's come a long way. I mean, future plans for it. Obviously, right now, I'm more concerned with fixing the rust. Obviously, right now, I'm more concerned with just fixing the rust so that I can keep the car, another 10 years. Why not? I mean, all it is some rusty rockers. And so once I'm going to do some maintenance stuff to the car, but like long-term goals, like eventually it's going to have a cage. It's just going to happen one day or another. And I want to get into, because I live in Pennsylvania, I want to do a couple of the hill climb events. A lot of the other guys in the SMF class do hill climb. There are a lot of amateur hill climbers out of the decently large SMF class here in Pennsylvania. So that's future goals. And I also want a cage so I can actually like track it and do some events. And obviously that means, better tires, lighter wheels, probably having a dedicated set of slicks. Those are long-term goals. Short-term goals are fix the rust, put in the gears, and get better at autocross. That's the short-term goals. Alright, so I kind of try to keep these videos short. So that's basically, how I got the Stratus, how I got into the cars and car scene, and then into racing. So, hope you liked the video. Until next time.